You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again for the Crypto Rundown, the program here on the Options Insider Radio Network, where we venture out into them thar crypto hills, see what's cooking out there in the Bitcoin and Ether realm from an options volume and volatility and skew and open interest and all sorts of fun perspectives. We also welcome on great guests from out the world of crypto derivatives and indeed beyond. Hope a lot of you enjoyed our extra special crypto hot seat segment that we did after our usual showtime last week with the folks over there at the Coinbase Derivatives Exchange. That may have been a surprise to a lot of you. Coinbase and derivatives, but that was kind of fun. So hopefully you check that out. If you missed it, it is available in the same feed that you get this show and, of course, our network feed. So check that out if you're curious what the folks at Coinbase, a big name in the world of crypto after all, what they're doing out there. On the derivative side, it may surprise you. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you are binging these days. If you do like what you hear, throw a star, a like, a comment, whatever your platform lets you do our way. It does help new folks continue to discover the network and continue to drive our bandwidth bills up to astronomical levels. And, of course, if you want to help defray those bandwidth bills, theoptionsinsider.com/pro, the place to go to learn more about all the content we've got. Great pro Q&As, great options oddities. Congratulations to Meets, our pro member who won the Pro Trading Crate last week. You want to get your name in the hat for those, and trust me, you do. I see the stuff we send out for those. There, you guys are cleaning out our vault. A lot of good stuff we've amassed over the 16 plus years, and it's all going out to you folks. Get your name in the hat. theoptionsinsider.com/pro. As it's back to Just the Facts, ma'am edition. Time for a little bit of the old Bitcoin breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down all the action in the world's leading digital asset, yet we're talking about the big dog, which is Bitcoin. Looking a little bit smaller, but not much right now. It's kind of the name of the game. It is August, after all, listeners. Everyone who argues that these assets are uncorrelated and they don't have the same seasonality and everything else that a lot of other asset classes do, allow me to present to you August, because that's what we're all living through right now. 29,310 at the end of our show last week, 29,064. Actually, I got that backwards. 29,64 at the end of our show last week, 29,310. This week, up a whopping 245, almost 246 handles on the week. In between, we got a little bit higher. We danced with the devil of 30K, but ever so briefly got up to 30,176. That was on Tuesday, right after our show last week. The low came pretty much right before our show last week, 28,724. So a little bit wider range than we've exhibited recently, but still it is summertime. So that means with that movement, vols coming in. In fact, if you want to see these vol numbers for yourselves and everything else we're going to talk about, skew, open interest, movers and shakers, all that fun, and literally a ton more we don't have time to get to on the show. Amberdata.io is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. If you fired it up today, you'd see that Bitcoin 30-day vol. Listeners, we've been saying for a while, it's pretty freaking anemic is the technical term. Yeah, well, we broke a 30 today out there in the 30-day vol. 29.85 as of right now in Bitcoin vol on Deribit. That's pretty low for an asset class that was synonymous with volatility for a while, and that, there were jokes and all kinds of fun made about how volatile Bitcoin was, and did kiss and break through into triple digits with decent frequency, has now dropped down to sub 30. That's a lot of vol coming off the top there, listeners. Just intriguing stuff out there. So again, if you're in the old premium harvesting game, maybe it's a time to be judicious with it. Maybe it's an interesting time to buy some premium if you are so inclined out there. I did mention when I was talking about the dividend capture strategy on the show last week that I was doing in BitO, that the one thing moving and working against that is the fact you're not getting a ton of premium for those options. On the flip side, you're not getting whipsawed out the way you used to when BitO was at 100 vol either. So interesting game out there right now, but extremely anemic vol. So just bear that in mind when you're playing out there. If we go a little bit farther out, we go out, let's say 6 months on that curve, then the vol still looking pretty light. It was 41.75 on the show last week, 39.25 this week. By the way, the 30-day vol last week, 32.5. So drifting down a wee bit there. And then let's go out to the skew. Let's see if the skew is evolving. And that is kind of interesting. It was positive last week, right around 1.5, about 1.66. That has pretty much doubled this week as positive 3. So I'm looking, at least in the near term, a little bit net upside interested, net upside biased. Call it what you will out there. Dare I say it, bullish. But either way, the weekly skew looking a little bit to the upside. Going farther out, that's still the same deal. If we go out 30 days, on the show last week, we were about a +1. Coming into the show this week, about +2.5 points. That means, again, those 25 delta range, because the folks at Amberdata don't just look at the 25 delta call. They look at everything from 20 to 30. They take the whole range of those options. That average is about 2.5 points above the range of 20 to 30 delta puts, showing that there is a little bit of vol premium, ever so slight, to the upside versus the downside. We go even farther, and that's a little bit more pronounced. It was 3.25 to the positive side 6 months out. This week, it is 4 points to the positive. So looking a little bit longer term, upside biased out there in Bitcoin, which again is kind of the historical average outside of these weird post-pandemic eras here. It's usually been upside biased. So intriguing to see what's going on out there. Let's go out to Deribit, see what's going on from a size OI perspective. How much is open out there in Deribit right now? And the answer is a decent amount, about almost 200,000 contracts, about 197,000 open on the calls. That's up about 8,000, and the puts 88,000 is up about 6,000. So not blowing the doors off, still slowly trying to rebuild the OI that went away, really with June expiration and to a lesser degree with July expiration. So far, August seasonality kind of working against it. Not a lot of people slinging size on Deribit right now. They're all out in the south of France, so they're everywhere else. Most of them are European or international. Not a lot of U.S. players, unfortunately. Not hanging out in the Hamptons, but intriguing stuff here nonetheless. Let's get out to the size movers and shakers from an OI perspective, such as it is this week. Number 5, we have the 29,000 puts slotting in there. So that's interesting. A little bit of downside. They gained about 1,300 contracts this week. Number 4, back to the near-term upside, the 30,500 strike calls They gained 1,400 contracts, actually kind of tying with our number 3 name, the 34,000 strike calls. They gained 1,400 contracts as well. So a little bit of a tie for 3/4 this week. And number 2, back to the dark side, back to the puts, the 27,000 strike puts. They gained 1,700 contracts this week. And the big dog, the 31,000 strike calls, they gained 2,500 contracts. Again, not huge rock'em sock'em numbers, but intriguing nonetheless. Let's get on out to one of your preferred vectors. I think we have a question about this. So we'll come back to this maybe later on in the show. But BITO, an intriguing name. It's had issues. We've talked about it before. It's had some interesting pros, some interesting cons. A lot to unpack in the world of BITO. Right now, kind of spinning its wheels, which is what's going on in most of the space. It's at a 15.20 right now, up about 1/10 of a point, so not a huge evolution on the week. In fact, that ADV, that seasonality coming to hit BITO as well. It's down another 5,000 contracts this week. So the ADV is down to only 28,000. That's a pretty steep drop-off from the nearly 100,000 contracts a day that BITO used to do. So BITO kind of coming under some hard times from a volume perspective. That remains the case today. Not much on the tape, only 12,000 contracts on the tape right before showtime. The vol also remains anemic. It was a 38 on the show last week. It is a 34.5 now, so still north of 30, but extremely anemic. In fact, it is in the first percentile for the year from a vol perspective. So not exactly blowing the doors off from a juice perspective out there. Let's look really quickly and see if we can check out some of our top movers and shakers out there from a size position perspective. What's open for size out here? And first off, all calls all the time still again this week, not a put to be found. So read into that what you will. We'll only do a top 5 here because the bottom half of the top 10, not exactly sizable. Number 5, 27,000 of the Jan 15 calls. Number 4, we got 41,000 of the Jan 2025. 25 calls. Say that one 5 times fast. Number 3, back to regular Jan, 59,000 of the Jan 65s. And then the rest are all Jan 2025. First, we have 63,000 of the Jan 35s. And the number 1 size position, 81,000 of the Jan 30s. Again, both of those expiring in 2025. Not a lot going on out there today in BITO. So instead, we'll keep on rolling to explore the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we explore everything going on outside of the big dog, except for right now, when we look at the top 10 from a market cap perspective. And let's start at number 10. It's still Tron. Tron's been hanging out at number 10 for the better part of a month now, so intriguing stuff. Costs you about $6.9 billion worth of market cap to break into the top 10 right now, so that's kind of treading water from where we've been of late. Number 9, we've got Solana hanging out at about a little over $10 billion right now, so a pretty decent jump between number 10 and number 9. Number 8, it's not what you might think, listeners. It's Cardano, $10.1 billion, so just managing to barely eke past Solana. And then number 7, $10.4 billion worth of market cap. It's the old Doge climbing the ranks. I know that infuriates some people, so it is kind of funny to see Doge clinging to that normally 8, now 7 spot out there. Number 6, USD coin, about $26 billion worth of market cap. Number 5, XRP, $33 billion. Number 4, BNB, $36.9 billion. Number 3 is Tether, 83 and about $250 million. Number 2, it's ETH, $221 billion. And the big dog, Bitcoin, $570 billion worth of market cap. In terms of evolution, did we get a lot of rock'em sock'em action in ETH? The answer is, not really. It was 1823 at the end of our show last week, 1842. This week's up about 19 handles on the week. In between, we had a little bit more of a range. Right before our show last week on Monday, we got down to 1804. And the high was 1873. That came a day later on Tuesday. So 69-point range. Nothing to really write home about, which again is why the vol out here is also getting pretty anemic. Now, we said for quite a while, ETH should be structurally more volatile than Bitcoin. Allow me to present to you the 30-day vol in ETH right now, listeners, on Deribit. We said Bitcoin just broke into a 20 handle, which is kind of surprising and or shocking. Well, last week on the show, ETH vol was a 31. This week, a 27. ETH vol lower than Bitcoin vol, substantially so, aggressively into a 20 handle now. That is very surprising. So those of you out there who maybe were intrigued by some ETH premium harvesting, maybe it's time to flip the script and look at some opportunities to buy some premium out there. ETH vol, I mean, this is roughly a quarter of where it spent a lot of time, 100 and above, not too long ago. So 27, again, that has the air of seasonality around it. That looks like an August number to me. We'll have to revisit it in a few weeks and see if things tick up from a vol perspective. Going a little bit farther out, let's see if the vol ticks up out there. 6 months, the answer is no. 37.4 on the show last week, 34.8 this week. So that one also coming in almost 3 points this week as well. So even longer term vol getting hit out there as well. Let's go out to the skew, see if we see any interesting evolution there. Let's go weekly first, 7-day skew. It was bearish last week, about 1.2 points, so nothing huge there. This week, that is flat, so that has gone away. If we go out about a month, the skew last week was negative 1.3. This week, negative 1, so still mildly bearish out there as well. And if we go even farther out, 6 months, the skew last week was about negative 1.4. This week, it's flat. So that looks like a whole bunch of August stuff to me as well. Just a lot of nothing going on from a skew perspective. Maybe we have some action from an OI perspective. And the answer is kind of. If we got to Deribit, the calls gained about 140,000 contracts this week. They're up to about almost 2.2 million worth of OI. The puts 692,000, only gaining 39,000. So once again, all the action is to the calls, which makes it surprising that one put did manage to sneak into our top 5 this week. Starting at number 5, we have the 2,000 strike calls, the even money calls. And they gained about 21,000 contracts this week. And number 4, we have the 2,100 calls. So interesting, a little bit higher, a little bit farther out of the money. They gained 23,000 contracts this week. Number 3, our first and only put in our top 5, the 1,500 puts. They gained about 25,000 contracts this week. So a good chunk of that OI gain for the puts came in these. Number 2, the 2,300 strike calls. So back to the upside, they gained 34,000 contracts. And the big dog this week, the 1,900 strike calls, they gained 51,000 contracts this week. So intriguing stuff as we keep on rolling. Let's get to the rest of the altcoin universe. Then we'll tackle some of your questions and get out of here for this Just the Facts, ma'am edition this week. Solana, about 23 on the show last week, a little bit shy of it, 2 cents shy of it. This week, 24 3/4. Get a nice little pop out there, up about 1.75 on the week. So a little pop there for Solana. XRP, it was 62.4 cents last week, 63.2 cents this week, up a whopping 0.008 on the week. Good old Doge treading water, 7.4 cents last week, 7.4 cents this week. Litecoin, 81.62 last week, 82.03 this week, up about 41 cents. Cardano, 28.8 cents last week, 28.8 cents this week. So a lot of treading water out there. It's kind of our theme for this time of year, listeners. Polkadot, 4.97 last week, 4.99 this week. Guess what? Treading water there as well, up a whopping 2 cents. And good old Shiba Inu last week was 0.000009. This week, a whopping 0.00001. So ticking up a wee bit out there in Shiba. Shiba Lambo's on the horizon? I'll leave that up to you to decide as we keep on rolling to tackle some of your crypto questions.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, welcome to the Crypto Questions segment, listeners. This week's question comes from Elites, or maybe Elites. Begins with an A, though, not an E. That's kind of interesting. They wrote in to say, what do you think about so many people trading options on Riot and Mara instead of BITO? Seems like the people are speaking with their volume. Yeah, that was an intriguing result, I think, to put it mildly, for our question of the week a couple of weeks ago. We asked you folks, what was your preferred vector for trading options in your securities account, but options that give you crypto exposure? I mean, I gave you 4 choices. I gave you the old BITO, we gave you Mara, we gave you Riot, and we gave you Coinbase as well. And 35.2% of you chose Mara, Marathon Digital Holdings. 29.6% chose Coinbase. Riot, 18.5%. BITO bringing up the rear at 16.7%. On one hand, that is surprising because BITO, at the end of the day, is the tracking vehicle, right? That is the one that's going to be not quite your one-to-one, but the closest you're going to get amongst this crowd for tracking. I mean, it's not a GLD that holds the physical, so it tracks very well. But it does a surprisingly decent job of tracking all things considered. And there's little interesting nuggets along the way, like the dividend, which you've talked about a few times here now. But, you know, if you look at it just from a solely volume, solely liquidity perspective, that choice starts to make a little bit more sense there, elites. I mean, right now, Coinbase has the highest ADV, as you would expect, 229,000 contracts. Now, all of these have come in due to seasonality, so they're all lighter than they traditionally would be. But still, you're talking a 28,000 a day ADV in BITO versus 229,000 contracts a day in Coinbase. That's a huge difference. So liquidity alone, I could see how some folks would be attracted to that. You have to work things a little bit more in BITO. May have to hit bids and lift offers a little bit more frequently than you would in a Coinbase. Marathon, same deal, 192,000 contracts a day. So pretty decent size, all things considered. A Riot, 126,000. So all of these are, even the lowest Riot, are still many multiples of what BITO is putting up right now. So it's intriguing. People are clearly speaking for liquidity and execution ease and just ease of transactions, lack of slippage. They're voting for that versus voting for tracking right now. Some of it could also be a little bit of the meme stock palooza. Our question of the week actually last week was, is the meme stock palooza from 2021, is it back? We are seeing a lot more volume in these names. Mara and Riot were certainly two of those. So could be some of that at work as well. Folks starting to flock back into these names, hoping for a little bit of a 2021 redux. But that said, I do like the tracking in BITO. It's much more of a reliable asset for me, for my purposes. If I'm looking for something that is a direct analog to Bitcoin in my securities account, that is also optionable. That's a big key. Otherwise, you can go with Grayscale and a bunch of other choices. Optionable is the big question mark there. Then you kind of have to go with BITO. It's definitely the big dog. Coinbase, that's not going to move one-to-one with Bitcoin, not even close. Mara, Riot, all the same deal. They all have other factors at work. I mean, BITO is not suffering from SEC investigations the way Coinbase is. Riot and Mara, they could have management issues, all sorts of other things going on. Earnings that could gum up the works. But you don't have that with BITO. So if you want one-to-one, again, you have to be a little bit more patient. You have to work your orders maybe a little bit more aggressively. So that could not be for all of you. I understand that. But closest to one-to-one of this group is definitely going to be BITO. So for me, that's still my choice. I understand if you want to trade these others, they have shown the propensity to pop sometimes, so maybe you want to capture that. There's other things going on with this volume than just looking for exposure to the Bitcoin market. But that said, for me, the choice is BITO. For a lot of you, it seems like the choice is Marathon or Coinbase. Hey, there's no right or wrong answer really here. It's what you need for your portfolio, for your use case there, Elite. So if your use case speaks more to Mara and Coinbase, we're not going to judge here at the end of the day. But if you want something that's going to correlate more directly to Bitcoin, then I think BITO is the way to go. And you have options on it. You don't have to deal with these weird discounts that they have going on in the Grayscale. You have funky dividends. You got to deal with those. But I guess you won't get mad getting some cash in your pocket on a fairly regular basis. But great question there, Elites. And again, it's something that is kind of head-scratching, kind of interesting. But it does make sense given the light of what's going on in the market right now, what we're seeing out there, people flocking back into the meme stock palooza names, and also the fact that they're putting up more numbers right now. So if you just want to sling some options on something that is, let's say, Bitcoin adjacent, then some of these might be your best options, pun intended. I'll always be the one-to-one or as close to it as possible guy. That's why I'll prefer a GLD or an SLV, or in this case, a BITO, to some of these other names that don't quite track the underlying that well. But that's a conversation for another day. Maybe we should do another deep dive. You know, we were surprised at the quality of BITO tracking back when we last crunched numbers, but that was over a year ago. Might be time to revisit this in light of all these distributions that are going on out there and see how that tracking is holding up. Might be a fun topic for a future show. Let us know if you're down for that, listeners. Unfortunately, that music means we are done for this Just the Facts, Ma'am edition this week. Again, if you did miss it last week, check out our special crypto hot seat segment with the folks from the Coinbase Derivatives Exchange. That was certainly a fun one. We'll be back again for all you pro folks tomorrow with our old buddy, Mr. Ash, international author extraordinaire, also volatility analyst extraordinaire. He's always got some fun, dubious correlations. If you want to check that out, you know where to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Then back again on Wednesday for a show a lot of you listening to this show should be listening to. That is Options Bootcamp. It'll help you get more familiar with and acclimated to a lot of these terms we're throwing around here all the time. That's a fun one. Check that one out. Thursday, of course, the option block, as well as This Week in Futures options. The latter of those two, also one of the other programs on the network that touches on crypto, to a decent capacity whenever there's volume, those products over there on CME. Friday, volatility views, and for all you pro folks, back again for options oddities. And we're back again next Monday, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.